Are you looking for a way to grow your B2B business or software company? Well, how about learning some of the best tips for content marketing, connecting with potential partners, and pitching your business? Well, if that's you and it sounds great, I invite you to join us on our upcoming B2B Content Marketing Q&A and Speed Dating Podcast Party. This is a live Zoom call for our community members and listeners to our podcast that can come along, and you'll get to interact, learn something new, and then also have a chance to get expert advice and make valuable connections. All right. The session will be recorded and published on our Authentic Influence podcast. All right. So register now and join us live on Zoom. The next event is coming up in a few weeks' time. Just head over to simplecreativemarketing.com/podcast party. That's simplecreativemarketing.com/podcast party to register. There's only 15 spots, so if you want to jump in, go ahead and do that today. Hope to see you there real soon. So what's the value of blogging and why invest in outsourcing content creation? If you're wondering about this, then this episode is for you. This question was submitted by Stevie V Brown from thechangestarter.com, one of our clients and an amazing client at that, and a good friend of mine, during our recent B2B podcast party. Stevie asked this question from the perspective of a marketing consultant helping her clients, but my response will be relevant to you even if you're running your own business. So stay tuned and learn all about the value of blogging.
Oh my God, so funny.
All right. I was like, I don't want to take it down, so let's see if we can make it work. I think I'm going to put something over it so it's not really reflective like that, but I'm working on it.
Okay. All right, so I want to, now your submitted questions, do you want me to go through and answer those in the next 10 minutes and then we'll wrap up, or you need to leave? I know we're kind of a bit over time here. Just want to respect where you're at.
I do need to go. I do need to leave, unfortunately. Yeah.
All right. Well, Stevie, I will respond anyway to your question, and then I'll send you
okay. I'll watch it later. All right.
Thanks for us. And yeah, we're doing another one a month from now. I'll send you all the details. And then if you want to invite anyone, please do.
Awesome. And thanks so much. Great to meet you, ladies. See you soon.
Nice to meet you too.
Bye, Am. Bye.
All right. So, Elle and Erica, I assume you want to stick around for a little bit?
Sure.
Okay, cool. All right. So, do you have any pressing questions, or do you want me just to bring up the questions that you submitted earlier?
Bring up the questions.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Elle.
Okay. Well, let's do Stevie's, and then we'll get. I'm just working through the list I've got here. So Stevie asked, she's helping clients understand content marketing and organic search. They often think that if they don't have much traffic to their website, that there is no point in spending money on blog content because no one will see it. That relates to your question, Erica, which is, do we need to have a blog? Or is blogging important? Okay. And Stevie says they can't understand the concept of posting content based on what their target are searching, so that their content is shown by Google, so their website is seen. Okay, so how do we, essentially the question here is, is blogging relevant, and how in her scenario, how can she communicate that is important as a part of a business? Okay, so the way I put this is, I like to use the analogy of when you have a house, and if you think of your website and your blog as your home, okay, and then you have roads that go out from that. And you have, obviously, on your house, you've got doors. You got your front door, your back door. Maybe you have other doors, and they're entry points into your home, right? Now, what typically happens with marketing is we start to do things like put things up on social media. Okay, so we're putting stuff on, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube or whatever it is. In my case, I do podcasts, right? And so those are sort of places, islands that are surrounding the house. They're places where people can discover you, yeah, right? But what you want to do is always bring people back to your house, because that's actually where your transactions happen, right? So both of you, everyone here is running services, but for them to find out what your services are, who you support, who is, what, if you're qualifying, the qualifying questions are there. That's all happening on your house, or related to this conversation is the landing page, right? So that might be a landing page. So you want to direct that, what we call traffic, back into the house, okay? Which is what the blog can be. The blog is a place where you really, imagine someone comes to your home and you take them into, let me ask Erica and Elle here, do you have books in your house in somewhere? Right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Where?
All over the place.
Okay, great. So some people have a bookshelf. Some people have it all over the place, like Erica does. But a good way for someone to understand what you've researched, what you know, what you've really put your mind into, is to actually look at your bookshelf and what books you're reading. Okay, so someone can get some good insight into, you have an interest in athletes and athletes health and recovery and these sort of things, because Elle would have books on those things, I'd assume, right? But you may have some other interests. So the blog kind of acts like that. It's your repository of information and a library that actually, when someone is a prospective client lands on your home, which is your website, right? And they go to your blog section or your article section and they go, oh, here's all this information that is very, that shows that you have expertise and you've been really invested in reading and learning about all this stuff, and now are teaching others, solutions to problems that they might have. So not only is it important from the client perspective, because that's what it does, from a Google and a marketing perspective, Google loves that too, because Google and search engines are looking at websites and they're basically looking for the most relevant websites for specific search queries. All right. So when someone is searching for how do I host, how do I use XYZ platform to host a virtual event, and they go into Google and they type that, right? Maybe they want a tutorial on how to use StreamYard or whatever these tools are, right? What's going to come up is a list of articles or pages that have that information on them. Yeah. And so if you are, those are people who are in your target demographic, they're your audience, and they're already out there searching for this stuff. So they go into Google and type that, and guess what? If they type a query in and an article that's on your website or a video that's on your YouTube channel comes up on that first page, they're going to click through and go, oh, I'm going to go and read more about this person. And you've actually now, found someone who's searching for what you're offering is now coming to you. Okay. And that did not cost you any money other than the investment in creating the content. Okay. That's very different to paid traffic, where we go out and we pay for ads and we pay for, sponsorship and these sort of things, and that's really going to be dependent on your budget. And the challenge with paying for ads in that way is, if you have competitors that are much more established and they're larger and they're $1 million companies and they're $1 billion companies, guess who has the bigger ad budget, right? And the way the ad game works is, the more money you have, the more likely you're going to get the best ads, right? And so you can only win that game for so long until your bigger competitors are gonna beat you. And the problem is, as soon as this happened with a client, I used to run ads for a co-working space here in Sydney. The second we switched off the ad, all the traffic disappeared, right? And so that's a problem, right? When you have a blog that is bringing organic traffic to you every single month, right? It's, unless Google dies, that traffic is going to keep coming to you, right? Unless you get outranked, which can happen. But there are strategies for us to prevent that, and that's really just making sure that your content is relevant and you keep updating it on an annual basis, right? So even I'll use Elle as an example. Elle, you mentioned that you kind of pivoted or you're kind of starting this new focus and much more focused business. Do you have any content on your website which speaks to recovery for professional athletes? Is that something that you're planning, or that you already have online somewhere?
Yes, we do. It talks about, we did Erica and I did a whole virtual series called Mastering Your Recovery. And it talks about all the different types of recovery, or types of injuries that require recovery.
Yeah, absolutely.
And different ways you can recover from it.
Cool. Now, do you have, is that series also, has that been transcribed into text format?
We are in the process of doing that. I think I was supposed to do that a few weeks ago.
All right, okay, but that's definitely a good step, because when Google does a thing, it's looking for video, but it doesn't know what's in your video, right? So that's why you want the text format, because that's how it ranks content. It looks for text versions of things.
I would ask Erica, isn't that what I was supposed to do? Erica, see, Erica's in
Yes.
charge of all
Love it.
the content.
If it helps, the closed caption is on the YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would pull the closed captions, but then I would also clean it up because the transcription is not 100%. It's not, and we say things like and R, and then it'll pick that up as well. And that's not, when you're reading it, it's not a great reading experience, right? So,
Yes.
and also what you want to do is start incorporating links to things, right? So if you talk about a specific technique, you want to link to an article or another video that speaks about that technique. So these things start to build. But that's the importance of content. Now, the challenge that Stevie is presenting here is that the expectation might be unrealistic, right? So expectation might be from her clients that, hey, if we're going to invest money into creating blog content, that, are we going to start getting, new clients coming through those blogs in the next 30 days or 90 days? And that's just not realistic. The way that Google works typically takes, if you have created an optimized article, and I do have past trainings and videos on my site that you can look at, where I talk about this and how to do it, then once you've got something that's optimized in that way, it can take up, the quickest that's happened for me is 2 weeks, but on average, you're looking at 6 months to 12 months, depending on a range of factors, like how long has your site been online, how long have you had a domain, are there other sites pointing back to you, and more established brands in your industry, right? So, for example, particularly for Elle, because you're working in that sort of the medical physio, the recovery space. That if you were able to do some kind of guest article for an educational institution, one that where maybe you trained and got your skills, or I just saw the ghost, like that's going to like really increase what we call the domain authority of your website, right? If you have an educational institution or a government institution linking back to your page, to your website, that boosts your ranking tremendously. Okay, and you're in the space that you're in is actually one where you can do that. Like for me, marketing is a bit more difficult, but it's not impossible. Like I can actually go and, if I were to go and write an article about marketing for one of the universities here that teach marketing in their business degrees, that could work as well, right? But I think you're kind of in a really good position to do that, Elle.
So there's articles that I reference a lot, and I use because there's a lot of research from other Mayo Clinic, NIH, and all those kind of stuff that I reference a lot. Yeah. So is it me linking to them or them linking back to me?
Yeah, other way around, right?
Them linking back to me.
Yeah. So you can link to them, but if you can find the way where you can collaborate with those institutions and organizations, and have it could be that you present a talk at the institution, and by doing that, they're putting, they do or you submit an article related to your talk, and they put that up on their website and link back to your website. That's what we're aiming for, because that's going to really help build your credibility and your authority. All right. So it's and that's really sort of the fast track. And Erica, thinking about you, similar things, right? Who are the brands and the businesses? And we talked about these tech platforms that you like to promote and you have partnerships and conversations with. Like one thing you'd really need to be working on is, hey, can I submit some guest content to your blog, and then have that link back to your website? Right, and usually the way they do it is in your byline or in where it's got the author bio, right? It says your name and it says what you do, and then it has a link to your website. That's typically where they put it. But what I'd also be asking for is, can I put a link to a resource in that article, and the resource sits on your website somewhere, right? Does that make sense?
Yes, I've been doing more of what you told me about reaching out to the platforms that I use. When I make a video, I ask those tech companies, can I put that video on their platform? But no, I don't have anything that links back to me.
Yeah, so what I would do, I know you produce a lot of video content, pull the video content, transcribe it similar to what we just said to Elle, make it a text article, right? And 500 words, usually you need to check with them how long. You can just look at their website, like how long are their articles, right? And then take one of those videos and turn it into an article format and say, hey, can would you be, before you do it, you can even ask them, would you be interested in me like turning this video into an article and then having you share that, and you can embed the video in the article, right? So I think that, because what you're doing is you're taking away some of their struggles with producing consistent content, right? Because one of the big, we all know with business, like there's so much things we need to do, and unless you have a marketing team, then when you come along and go, well, I'm an expert at doing this, or I'm a specialist at doing that. You don't have to say you're an expert, but why don't are you open to getting guest content that's really valuable to your audience? Let me produce that for you, right? And it's a win for them, it's a win for you, it's a win for your audience, their audience as well. And now you're appearing on their websites, and their audience is reading about you, right? Your content on their website. Guess what? They're going to click through and get to your website. So now you've actually brought them over, right? And that's a smart strategy for doing that. Okay. So now back to Stevie's question. How do you convince a client that blogging is important? I don't try to convince them. I basically give them case studies. I basically say, look, here is examples of businesses just like yours where they've been able to leverage the blog to really build traffic, right? And then from that, leads and clients. Okay, and so I would always look at using results as a way to persuade. So for Elle, have you worked with other athletes? Okay, can you talk about who they are? If not specifically, share their names. If you can, great. There was a guy who used to be the trainer for Michael Jordan. What was his name? And he just released his book during the pandemic. And he also was the trainer and then he ended up being the trainer for Kobe and Scottie Pippen and other players in the NBA. And purely word of mouth, like purely because he had the brand name athlete, right, as a client. And then from that, everyone wanted to work with him, right? And so I don't know if you have that yet, or if you want it, or you don't want it, that's fine. But think about if you can, if there is and Erica, same thing. Who's the brand name company or an up and coming company that you support, that you can say, hey, we've helped this company run virtual events, and then let them be a case study and testimonial for you, and use that to open the doors to other conversations with other companies like them, right, or other athletes like them, and that's how you do that. Okay, so we kind of went roundabout answering Stevie's question, but I think we have to recap that, show them evidence that it works. That's a bestseller, and then give them a really talk about the difference between paid traffic and organic traffic, and where they're spending their money. Because if I had a choice, it depends on also urgency of what they're trying to sell. If they wanted to sell something that they need to, say they've got a product or a coaching program or a service that they need to fill up in the next 90 days, blogging is not the solution for that. I would say probably paid ads or some partnership deal or a sponsorship deal is the way to go, because you're going to get that traffic quicker. But then for a medium to long-term strategy, then I'd be looking at blogging, right? So a good case study I have for that is I actually worked for an accounting firm and did their content for, it took them from the day we started blogging, we were blogging consistently, one blog post per week for 2.5 years before it then became the primary source of traffic to the website. And now everything is coming through Google, right? So they basically don't run Google, they don't run Facebook ads, they don't run any of this stuff, and it's become $1 million company just from Google alone, right? So and that's because of the investment in creating that blog content, right? We also did video content as well, but that hasn't performed as well. And we didn't invest as much into video because, as you all know, it takes much more time to do that, right? And effort and stuff. So thank you, Stevie, for your question. Erica, I think we answered your question, how important is blogging? So do you want to add more context to that, or do you have any additional follow-up questions to what I've said about blogging?
Well, so far, I've taken clips and of the video, and I've taken the transcripts of those clips, and I've put them in a blog format.
Yeah.
But I haven't done anything like add quotes or any pictures, and it's very long. And I'm wondering, should it be that long? Because my videos are usually about an hour long.
Yep. So what I would do is, if it's an hour long, how come my ping is not charging? Okay, cool. All right. Do you mind if we actually look at one of them? Is it on your site? Have you published one of these things?
I haven't published it.
Okay.
It's in a phrase and it's just sitting there.
All right.
Like,
so okay, think about one of the videos that you have in mind, one of the things that you've got in phrase. What's the topic?
SEO and video, or SEO and live streaming.
So what's the question that someone's going to ask in Google to find that piece of content if it was sitting on your website? What's the question that that is answering? How do I use SEO for like what's the actual question?
How to optimize your live stream with SEO.
Okay.
But that's not the question that somebody's going to ask you.
Yeah.
Like,
so what would you ask to get to that?
I would ask, like, is SEO important in live streaming? I would also ask, can I improve my SEO for live streaming? Maybe can you use SEO for live streaming? And I figured out what your ghost is. It's cars. You must be facing a window.
Yes, you're right. It is. I can see it moving, and
It's the cars going by.
You're so good, El. You should be a private investigator. When you're not cooking stuff. Okay, so so great question. Like, so you notice, Erica, that you went straight to the technical expert the way you would ask the question, and Elle went, well, actually, what I'm caring about is SEO important in streaming. Like we were going back even a step. And so that's the question we're asking. So you put that into Google. Now, this is Australian results, so you would have different on your Google because you'd have the US results. But this is a test. You go, okay, if I type that in, what's coming up, right? So Restream, which is a platform, have an article on video SEO tips to optimize your live stream, right? So then I would be opening that up and looking at, okay, what does that page look like? We've got live video SEO and marketing, what you need to know. What is SEO and why is it important? Live video SEO, everything a digital marketer should know. Okay, I might check that out. So, this is first page results. So I would be looking at a few, maybe all of these pages, opening them up and looking at, well, what's the typical format of these articles, okay? Because the reason why they're ranked on page 1, because Google has determined that these appear to be the most relevant articles that answer the question, yeah? And so, and it's not by coincidence that they're on page 1. Okay, so this gives you then a format to follow. Okay, so when you look at your article in phrase, I would restructure the article so it follows a similar flow. Okay, so we're going, okay, it has why is, and these questions in the headings are really important. The headings are one of the primary reasons why they're ranking on page 1. Okay, so pay attention to what the headings are. So why is live streaming an important marketing strategy? Why you need a video SEO strategy? Okay, live videos, and these are all reasons to answer the question. Live videos are more engaging. They drive traffic. YouTube is a search engine. General video SEO tips, right? And they give you specific tips. And you might have already covered all this stuff in your video already, right? But you're just breaking it up in the way that one, the reader, it makes sense to them, and then number 2, Google, it makes sense to them as well, right? So it actually goes, okay, these are the keywords that people are searching for, right? How to schedule your video in advance, how do you promote your live video on social networks, right? And so you might have each one of these points could be a separate article as well, right? Like you could put a paragraph here, but then link it to another page or another video that you've created, which is where you just only talk about uploading video teasers, where you're only talking about promoting on social media, right? And that shouldn't be an hour video. That's probably a shorter 10-minute video or something like that. Or maybe within an hour stream you've done, you've already spoken about that topic for 10 minutes. You cut that part out and make that its own video and its own blog post. Does that make sense? So yeah, so this gives, now is this long? Yes, it's long, right? I'm still scrolling, like I'm probably scrolled 10 times already. I haven't hit the bottom, but it's basically answering not every, but a lot of questions that I might have in my head around SEO for video, for live streams. Yeah, so something that's missing from this is visuals. Okay, they've embedded a video, or not really, that's not really useful. So something that I would to do this better, and you could do better for your article, is actually include for each one of these, embed an image or a little video. Maybe you take a snippet out of your longer video and that answers that question, and you embed it here, right? So someone would, if they're interested in how to save or create clips, right? Maybe you have a walkthrough of how you're doing that on your computer, and then you embed that video here, and I can just hit play and watch you do it. For me as a visual learner, that's more useful than reading text, right? Like for me, but then for the text learners, they're going to want the text as well, right? So that's one example. And you notice they have an index here on the right-hand side on this page. Are you
sharing your screen? Because I don't see it.
Oh, really? Let's. I am sharing my screen. So let's do that again. Because I thought you all.
In the chat, I put in my article.
Yeah.
Right, just in case you want to see it.
Okay, cool. So yeah, top to bottom, this is a long article. I'm just scrolling through it. Pay attention to the headings, right? Pay attention to what they're talking about. They even break down like marketing tips for each platform. If you're using YouTube, if you're using Twitch, if you're using whatever, all right? And so here's an index that tells you what this article contains, right? So people can click through, if I only want to learn about general video SEO tips, I'm just going to click on that, right? At the top of the article, they also, there's two ways you can do this. This is a fancy way to do it, but in your article, to keep it simple, you can just, there's a WordPress. Are you using WordPress, Erica?
Yes.
Yeah, there is. You can search for a plugin called Table of Contents. It's a free plugin, and basically it auto generates this for you and puts it at the top for you. And if you look at any of the articles, long articles on my page, maybe I can bring one up. No, we won't do that. Okay, so anyway, yeah, what I would say is go through, type in your search query, look at different pages. Let's look at this other page, Stream Geeks. Okay, so they've got a page on video SEO, right? If I scroll through here, look, they've got images. They have what is live video SEO. They've got 4 benefits. I like theirs is more catered for a visual learner because they've got these graphs and things, and 86% of companies do this, and it's clean. It's they don't have any embedded videos, so that's another way that you could beat them or provide a better user experience, right? But this isn't as long as the other article. Okay, so this is probably like 1,000 words, if that. Whereas the other one seems to be more like 3,000 words long. Okay. Now, in terms of their ranking, the 3,000 words longer article is at the top. That's number 1. Okay. So now it's not about necessarily just about word count. It's actually what's happening here is they're providing much more in-depth information in their article, which is why it's longer, right? So that's, but doesn't have to be super long, and doesn't have to be. What I would stay away from though is like under 1,000 words. If your article is like 500 words, most likely it's not going to rank on page 1 today, right? Unless there's really no competition for that particular keyword. Okay, so but the way you know is you actually do what we just did here. Put the keyword, the search phrase in, look at these top 10 pages or whatever that have come up, look at each of those pages, and then you get an understanding of, okay, there's an average of 1,000 to 3,000 words here. So if I write something that's in between, that should do okay. Yeah. And then, yeah, you can look at it, my other episodes on how to optimize, but does that give you more benefit around the importance of blogging and how it actually works?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay, so let's. Hey, what's up, awesome human? Before we get started with today's episode, I just wanted to invite you to be a guest on Authentic Influence Podcast. For founders and marketers of B2B services or software companies that want to get more leads and sales online, our B2b Content Audit interview will concentrate on coming up with practical ideas to assist you to improve the results of your content marketing. The ideal guest would be a founder or marketer of a 6 or 7 figure B2B service or software business wanting to grow their website traffic and generate more leads online. This is all 100% free, so head on over to www.simplecreativemarketing.com/live audit. That's simplecreativemarketing.com/live audit, and sign up for a content audit interview today. Now, here's today's episode of Authentic Influence. Now, just quickly, if you want to check out the show notes for this episode, just head over to simplecreativemarketing.com/podcast, and you can grab all the links and things and resources on there. And also, if you are a conscious entrepreneur, got a professional services business, working B2B, and you've got an interest in building influence and income through showing up, serving others, and being real, then I invite you to join my Authentic Influence Warriors Facebook group. If you want to do that, just head over to simplecreativemarketing.com/community. Okay, thanks for joining in, and I'll see you on the next episode. Hey, thanks so much for listening all the way to the end. You've made it. Really appreciate you for doing so. I hope you got some value out of this conversation, and I wanted to leave you with just a quick gift for making it this far. All right, I've got some tools and training to become an authentic leader and to grow your business and influence online for you. Just head over to authenticinfluence.co/gift, and that's authenticinfluence.co/gift, and you can access all the goodies right there. Again, thanks for listening, and if you did get something great out of this, please share this particular episode. I'd love to have more people listen to this conversation and learn more about this particular podcast. Thank you again. Chat with you real soon.